Hey, welcome back, math friends. Today we're taking a look at lesson 2.2. So on the next page in your math notebook, please write lesson 2.2 at the top, along with addition of real numbers. We're going to be talking about adding real numbers today. All right, thanks for doing that. Now we are going to be using a number line to add. So things you have to remember when you're adding on a number line, and you should probably write these things down. I would definitely recommend writing this down. When you're adding on a number line, always start at the origin, which is 0. We learned about that in the last lesson. And then you move from there to the first number. And then after that, if you add positive numbers, you move to the right. If you add negative numbers, you move to the left. Okay, always start at 0, positive to the right, negative to the left. So let's start off with our very first example here, -2 plus 5. All right, so the very first thing I'm going to do is start at 0, the origin. And I'm going to go from first of all, I'm going to go to -2. There, now I'm at -2. And then I am going to add 5. So I'm going to move 5 to the right because I'm adding a positive. 1, 2, oh, that's horrible. 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is my answer. The answer is 3, positive 3. So -2 plus 5 is positive 3. Okay, let's try the next one. Please make sure you're writing these down, copying the number line down, and practicing. Otherwise, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Let's try this one. Positive 2 plus -6. All right, first of all, I'm going to start at 0 because I always start at 0. Then I move to 2. 1, 2. And now it says I'm going to add -6. So that means I'm going to move to the left. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that gives me -4. So positive 2 plus -6 is -4. A number line is a really helpful tool if you're not if you haven't gotten good at adding positive and negative integers yet. Right? Remember, if it's a negative number, you go to the left. Positive number, you go to the right. Always start at 0. Okay, let's keep going. Now, there are some basic rules of addition. Once you get used to using the number line, something that you might notice is that when you add positive and negative numbers, there are some easy things to do. First of all, if you're adding two numbers that have the same sign, so adding two numbers that have the same sign, that means they're either going to be both positive numbers or both negative numbers. Either way, they both have the same sign. First, what you do is you add their absolute values, and then you attach the common sign. So if they're both positive, your answer is going to be positive. If they're both negative, the answer is going to be negative. So if we take a look here, -3 plus -7. 3 plus 7 is 10, and they're both negative, so the answer is negative. 17 plus 35. Well, 17 and 35 are both positive, so the answer is going to be positive, and it's going to be 52, positive 52. All right. Now, -6.8 plus -4.1, they're both negative, so the answer is going to be negative. 6.8 plus 4.1, and that is 10.9, so it'll be -10.9. All right, and -1/2 plus -1/4, well, they're both negative, so the answer is going to be negative. And 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4. So -3/4. Pretty easy. You add the numbers and keep the sign that they both happen to be. But they both have to be the same sign. Right? Now, if we add two numbers with different signs, where one is positive and one is negative, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger absolute value. Because you're adding different signs, you're technically going to be subtracting. And then you just put the sign of the number that has the larger absolute value. Let's do some guided practice on that. Let's zoom in here just a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so -8 plus 12. They have different signs. One's positive, one is negative. I'm going to do 12 minus 8. 12 minus 8 is 4. The larger absolute value is positive, so my answer is positive. Da-da-da! Check. Okay. -10 plus positive 4. Well, different signs, so I'm going to subtract. 10 minus 4. 10 minus 4 is 6. But I see that the larger absolute value is negative, so my answer is negative. All right, now this one, I'm adding 3 of them together. Now what I can do here is, because we're adding them all, we can use the commutative property. So -4 plus -3 plus 6. And -4 plus -3 is -7. So I'm just adding the 2 negatives together, plus 6. -7 plus 6. Now these have different signs. So I would subtract 7 minus 6, which equals 1. What has the larger absolute value? The 7 has the larger absolute value, so my answer is going to be negative. The -7 has the larger value, so my answer is negative, -1. Okay. Now, -2.5 plus positive 5.76 plus -88.6. So that's going to be -2.5 plus -88.6 plus positive 5.76. See, we can rearrange those. Now, these two added together, because they're both negative, is -91.1 plus positive 5.76. Now, they have different signs, so this would actually be 91.1 minus 5.76, which is 85.34. Oh, and that one's negative, right? So the larger one is negative. So my answer is going to be negative. Okay? Different signs, subtract their absolute values, keep the sign of the larger value. All right, now there are some properties of addition we should talk about. They're really quick to learn. The commutative property means that the order of the numbers being added doesn't change the sum. For example, 4 plus 7, or let's say -4 plus 7, is the same thing as 7 plus -4. The order doesn't matter. All right? The associative property says that the way you group 3 numbers being added doesn't change the sum, and we saw that up above. Like 2 plus 3 plus -5 is going to be the same thing as 2 plus 3 plus -5. Now the identity property says that the sum of any number and 0 is that same number, right? So, 8 plus 0 is just going to be 8. And the inverse property says that any number and its opposite is going to be 0. So 9 plus its opposite, which is -9, is always going to be 0. That's the inverse property of addition. Please make sure that you write these all down along with the examples. They are super important for you to remember moving forward. And we have come to the end of today's lesson. So remember, commutative, associative, identity property, and inverse property. And remember the rules for adding numbers that have the same and different signs. That's all for now. Have a great day. Don't forget to be awesome. I'll see you next time. Whoops, almost forgot. Here's today's practice. You can pause this, or you can go back to the slide where you found this video and click on the practice work, and it'll bring this page up. Either way,